As long as there have been positions of power, there have been those courageous few willing to speak truth to power. And as long as there have been those willing to speak truth to power, there have been those trying to throw them in jail. As the invention of the movable type printing press spread literacy to the masses and paved the way for newspapers, pamphlets, and broadsheets, the idea of the free press as a fourth estate began to take shape. This concept of news media as a vital check on institutional governmental power was taken to heart by America's founding fathers, who took care to preserve freedom of speech, and the freedom of the press in particular, as a constitutionally enshrined right in the First Amendment of the Bill of Rights. Or so the story goes. In point of fact, tyrants have always strained against a truly free and independent press, and it was less than a decade after it was ratified before the Federalists under President Adams began to eviscerate that First Amendment. In 1798, they passed the Alien and Seditions Act, criminalizing scandalous or malicious criticism of the government. Under the laws, which lasted until their expiry in 1800 and 1801, over 20 newspaper editors were arrested and several imprisoned. If this story tells us anything, it's that the war on the free press is nothing new. But even given this proud American tradition, the overt threat to journalistic truth-tellers in the US and around the world, even from within the ranks of journalism itself, is reaching a fever pitch.
Well, we have some breaking news that is coming into the RT newsroom. The Associated Press says that the U.S. Justice Department has been secretly monitoring them for over 2 months. During that time, the DOJ collected telephone records of reporters and editors at the AP. The Associated Press called this, quote, a massive and unprecedented intrusion into how news organizations gather the news.
Does the president approve of that kind of action by the Justice Department against a reporter?
I will refer you to what the president said in response to a question about another matter along these lines, and that is that he is a strong defender of the First Amendment and a firm believer in the need for the press to be able to conduct investigative reporting and facilitate a free flow of information. He is also, as a citizen and as Commander-in-Chief, insistent that we protect our secrets.
Why shouldn't you, Mr. Greenwald, be charged with a crime?
I think it's pretty extraordinary that anybody who would call themselves a journalist would publicly muse about whether or not other journalists should be charged with felonies. The assumption in your question, David, is completely without evidence, the idea that I've aided and abetted him in any way. The scandal that arose in Washington before our stories began was about the fact that the Obama administration is trying to criminalize investigative journalism by going through the emails and phone records of AP reporters, accusing a Fox News journalist of the theory that you just embraced, being a co-conspirator with felonies for working with sources. If you want to embrace that theory, it means that every investigative journalist in the United States who works with their sources, who receives classified information, is a criminal. And it's precisely those theories and precisely that climate that has become so menacing in the United States. It's why the New Yorker's Jane Mayer said investigative reporting has come to a standstill, her word, as a result of the theories that you just referenced.
This next story raising serious questions about government overreach. A conservative reporter saying the feds in a pre-dawn raid took her files while searching her home for guns, including a toy potato gun.
You've been watching a preview of this week's Eye Opener Report. This 100% free media is provided by the subscribers of BoilingFrogsPost.com. Subscribers can log on now for the full report, which will be available to the general public in 3 weeks' time.